All right, what's going on, everybody? Good morning. Well, I just got to say this, man. Boxing fans just can't seem to help themselves. I said this before, man. You know, boxing fans can be sometimes the worst fans in the world because you don't get the outcome you think you should have got because you didn't like how something went. All of a sudden, there's a conspiracy, right? All of a sudden, there's foul play, right? We always have to inject controversy into something that we can't process. When I say always, I shouldn't say always. Many times, people, not we, but people, always have to inject controversy and conspiracy theories into something because they can't fathom it being another way or it's just not the way they want it to be. So automatically, there has to be some type of corruption involved or foul play or what have you. This was a great fight, right? This was a great fight. And like Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano said, there were no losers last night. This was one of the rare occasions that boxing on all fronts got it right? They got it right? You had a great undercard, right? You had a great crowd, right? The whole event was promoted beautifully, right? Everyone was talking about this fight. Even mainstream media outlets were talking about this fight, right? It was even mentioned on ESPN, who had nothing to do with the broadcast of this fight, but they even mentioned it in their sports center after the Shakur Stevenson fight, right? And they mentioned it first before they mentioned the Shakur Stevenson fight. With all due respect, that Shakur Stevenson fight was not a bad fight. It was an okay fight, but it was nowhere near uh, as good a fight as this was last night. You know, these rounds, I thought a lot of them were very close. They could have gone either way. Um, the last round was a very close round that could have gone either way. I thought that Taylor won the first round, but some people gave that round to Serrano, and one of the judges gave that round to Serrano. So the scorecards were all over the place. And when you talk to people, not everyone has identical scorecards. I talked to D Style via text. He gave Serrano the last round. I gave it to Taylor, but I have no problem if you gave that to Serrano. This fight could have been a draw. Could have been 6-4 either way. 7-3 seems a little wide, right? But again, if you do give a lot of the swing rounds to Katie Taylor, it's not impossible to have 7-3. I just think that it was improbable that it would improbable that you would have scored at 7-3. And I think most people, if they did score this fight, right, I think the majority of people would have had it 5-5 or 6-4 either way. Eddie Hearn said that it could have been a draw, and even Jake Paul said he basically said that he had a draw. But I don't think Jake Paul obviously is going to be biased. Eddie Hearn's going to be biased, so it's hard to just take their opinions, you know, with a grain of salt. You have to just look at it like that. But at the end of the day, watching this fight, I just thought it had a lot of good ebbs and flows to it. I thought the first three rounds were very tactical. I thought Katie Taylor was moving a lot in the first three rounds. She was circling Amanda Serrano, and Amanda Serrano was basically coming forward, and I thought she was following Katie Taylor around, and I thought Katie Taylor was more effective fighting at distance in those first three rounds. I thought she was landing some good jabs. She landed some good right hands to the body, and I thought on my scorecard, I gave Katie Taylor the first three rounds, but then I thought Amanda Serrano, she came back. and she went on a little run, right? And I gave her rounds 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now 7 could have gone to Taylor. Uh, 2 could have gone to Serrano. I mean, these rounds were just close, man. These were close. So it's really hard for me to criticize anyone's scorecard, and I tend to not do that anyways. I just think that if we want to make the focal point of this fight being that you think it was a robbery, then I think you just take away from how great of a night this was, how great of a fight this was, and I would definitely love to see a rematch, right? So I thought Serrano was starting to cut off the ring a little bit better against Taylor. I think Taylor did try to stand and fight a little bit, and she did get hurt in that 5th round. And I have to be honest. Shout out to Ronald Finkley, man. Thank you so much for the super sticker. I have to be honest. In that 5th round, that was like the first time ever that I was tempted to score around 10-8 when a fighter hasn't scored a knockdown. I really thought that Katie Taylor was really hurt on that round, and I felt as though she was possibly going to get knocked down in that round and maybe even stopped, right? So I was tempted to score that 10-8, but I did not, because I normally don't do that. So I didn't want to just start doing that now for this fight when in the past I've never done it, right? But I was tempted to do it. That's how badly I thought Katie Taylor was hurt. But she started to recover in round 6. She was starting to move a little bit better, started boxing more on the outside. But I still gave that to Serrano. In round 7, a lot of people gave that to Taylor. I still think that, Serrano was the one coming forward, and even though Taylor was fighting on the outside, moving a little bit, I didn't think that her output was great. But in round 8, really started seeing Taylor really get that jab going, and she was landing some good right hands in round 8 and round 9 as well. Round 10 was basically both women stood in the center of the ring, and they just were trading and exchanging. And yeah, it was a great fight. It was a great ending to a great fight in round 10. So yeah, I just don't agree with all of the robbery claims here. And once again, I just don't think it's a good look for the sport of boxing when you have a great night like this. You always have to inject some type of controversy into it. There always have to be some type of sour grapes. People get too emotionally invested in these fights, and quite frankly, it was hard for me to root for anyone in this fight because I liked both women a lot. I think both women are great for the sport. They represent the sport very well. So I really wasn't rooting for one fighter over the other. I did favor Katie Taylor in this fight. I just thought that her overall boxing skills were a little bit better than Amanda Serrano's. I thought she was a little bit better in terms of versatility. Amanda Serrano is a come-forward fighter. She's a very aggressive fighter, where Katie Taylor can fight off the front foot and the back foot. She can be a counter-puncher when she needs to be. She can fight on the outside as well as inside. Serrano is not bad on the outside, but she's better on the inside. She likes to go to the body, and she's better when she's up close, because that's when she can really sit down on those power shots, particularly that, the left hand, digging that left hand to the body and coming back over the top with a right hook. But yeah, Amanda Serrano, even herself, she was happy with the fight. She didn't cry and complain, and she was a good sport, and she was very thankful of all the support from the fans and how everyone showed up, and that just the atmosphere and the environment in that fight yesterday was just very, very impressive. It was a very impressive event, in my opinion, all around. And I like I said, I agree with both fighters. I don't think there were any losers last night, and the only losers I think are the people crying robbery right now, because they robbed themselves of a great experience. They're focusing on that instead of focusing on how great the fight was. And we could possibly get a trilogy out of this. If they go back to Ireland and they fight in a stadium, once again, that's another historic event. And yeah, I would like to see them fight three, 3 minute rounds, 12 3 minute rounds. I would love to see that. I would love to see that. Um, do I know for a fact that if that fifth round was 3 minutes, that you know Serrano would have stopped Taylor in that round? I really don't know. I really don't know. I can't say that for sure. I can't say that for sure. You know, but in any event, I would like to see you know 12 3 minute rounds. I think it would be better for the sport of boxing. Blood, shout out to Blood. He says, I don't think there was a robbery, but I believe Serrano won. I don't disagree. I mean, once again, you could have that fight 6-4 for Serrano. I don't have a problem with that. Big Coach, what's going on, my friend?
B, what's going on, brother?
How you how you feeling, brother?
I'm feeling good, man. Just I just got up not too long ago, man. We had some good fights last night, man. This morning. Um, I'm not gonna lie, bro. I feel like the boxing guys have been blessing us, you know, outside of the month of January with Keith Thurman and the Keith Thurman and Mario Barrios fight and the Ortiz and Charles Martin fight. Outside of that, we've been getting some good fights, bro. I really don't have no complaints. Everybody's emotions is everywhere. You know what I mean? So this is what it's all about.
Yeah. And you know when it's a close fight, right? Because sometimes when you watch a fight, immediately when the round ends, if you're scoring it, you're automatically checking that 10-9 real quick.
Right,
But when you like some of these rounds at the end of them, like rounds 2 and 3, rounds 10, round 7, I'm sitting there thinking like, okay, I have to think a couple seconds longer to actually who am I going to give this round to?
right.
And that in itself, you know, definitely means that you were watching a great fight. You know,
When
right then and
AB,
there. Go ahead.
no, sorry about that. But I'm not gonna lie. Let's be real, Katie. I did a prediction. I was picking Amanda Serrano the whole week.
Yeah.
Friday, I have the receipt. A lot of people was there. I said I'm gonna go with Katie Taylor to win by split decision.
Yeah.
When I finished watching the fight last night, I'm not gonna lie. I don't. I scored it a draw.
Yeah.
I gave Katie Taylor the last 3 rounds. She won the eighth, ninth, and 10th round to me
Yeah.
because it looked like Amanda. She let off the gas. She got tired. But I thought Amanda built up enough lead, to possibly maybe it could have been a split decision Amanda's way. I don't have a problem with I don't have a problem with um it being a split decision. The problem I do have, Beeb, is this 97-93 score. Like, bro, like I don't the fight that I was watching, I didn't see that. I didn't see one judge had Katie Taylor winning 7 of the 10 rounds. I didn't see that. I'm just being honest with you. Like, no, I didn't see that at all. To me, Katie Taylor got hit a lot. She was wobbled, hurt throughout the fight. Um, I was shocked that Amanda Serrano, being moving up in weight, was able to just pretty much. She to me this what she did. She saw the what was that fight that Katie Taylor had? I thought she lost that
Pursoon.
fight.
Pursoon.
Yeah, yeah, Pursuit. She did that. I wasn't. I was like, well, if she can implement that game plan, and it's kind of like that's what she did. I thought Katie Taylor lost that Pursuit fight, and um, I get it. Katie Taylor's the favorite. Yada yada yada. She's the greatest boxer in the history of women's boxing. She's perfect. I understand all of that, but from what her supporters say. But from what I saw last night, being objective and unbiased, and I'm not a pro Serrano fan, I'm not a pro Katie Taylor fan. I just started watching women's boxing over the past maybe 3 months, 3, 4 months. outside of Clarissa Shields, of course. And from what I saw, man, I'm like, worst case scenario, I think that fight should have been a draw, but I could easily see Amanda winning a split decision. Katie Taylor won the last 3 rounds, so I can see her winning the split decision. Have no issue with that. I just have an issue with the 97-93, and I just think it was closer than that, bro. I'm just being honest with you. But go ahead. Sorry about that.
I agree. I had it 96-94 for Taylor, but it was I had that 10th round. I could have easily given it to Serrano, and then it would have been a draw on my card. Even the first 3, I gave the first 3 to Taylor. But if I go back, I could sit there and say, well, you know what? Maybe Serrano won the second. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of swing rounds here, and yeah, I have a hard time with the 97-93 as well too. I think at the least you had to give Serrano at least 4 rounds here, at least. Because here's the thing, even with these swing rounds, if you're giving every swing round to one fighter, then that's a problem, in my opinion. It's almost like, that's kind of crazy. So in order to come up with 97-93, you had to really, really give too much of the benefit of the doubt to Taylor. And I think that was a little bit overboard. But I said earlier, Coach, and tell me if I'm crazy by saying this, because I don't like doing this. I don't like scoring 10-8 rounds without a knockdown. But I was tempted to do that in the 5th. That's how bad I thought Taylor was hurt in that round. I have to go back in history and check if I've ever seen a fighter that hurt in a round without going down. What are your thoughts on that?
No, you hit the nail right on the head. She that 5th round, I thought she was going to get dropped. She looked terrible that 5th round. She was bleeding early. Her nose was bleeding in the 1st round. And I'm like, dude, why is she so easy to be hit? From what I was I wasn't expecting that. I'm not going to lie. And you hit the nail right on the head. It's something you said that was very true. When you give every swing round, because there was a lot of swing rounds in that fight, every swing round to Katie Taylor, I mean, I get it. She's the god. She's the goddess. She's the best woman boxer in the history of boxing. She walks on lily pads and whatever. I'm just being sarcastic, of course. But, dude, every swing round you give, and this is the problem that I have. I understand that she's I get it. I understand. But Serrano didn't get no swing rounds? None. Like I'm saying with the other 2 judges, come on, man. That's all I'm saying. But this is boxing. I get it. I understand. I scored her the draw. Because I gave Amanda Serrano Katie Taylor the last 3 rounds. The 10th round could have been a swing round. The 1st and 2nd round could have been swing rounds. But when you give every swing round to one fighter, that's telltale to me. But go ahead. Sorry about that, Abid.
What rounds did you give Serrano? I'm just curious.
You know what? I have it written downstairs. I'm not downstairs.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, no problem.
I'm not downstairs. No
Yeah. After the first 3 rounds, right? What did you have it, 2-1 at that point?
First 3 rounds, I had it. It was close, bro. I said 2 rounds to 1, maybe Serrano. I said, but the rounds were so close. It could be 2 rounds. See, this is the thing. It could have been 2 rounds to 1 Serrano. It could have been 3 rounds to 0 Serrano. It could have been 2 rounds to 1 Taylor. It could have been 3 rounds to 0 Taylor. You see what I'm saying? There was nothing distinctive. The only thing that was distinctive, Amanda Serrano was walking Katie Taylor down. I love the way she was cutting the ring off. She was forcing the fight. She did that the entire fight. And when she let her hands go, she was landing, and Katie Taylor was countering. Katie Taylor was doing a lot of good with her footwork, in and out, landing. Now, with some rounds I saw where Katie Taylor was coming in and out, landing punches and getting out of the way. She clearly had the quicker footwork, dashing in and out. But I liked it. But Katie Taylor looked tired to me. she looked like she had a worried look on her face. Amanda Serrano was very stoic in her look. She was very calm. She was very calm. I was like, God, this like the moment wasn't too big for her. And I was shocked. And bro, let me tell you something, man. That fight was better, 10 times better, in my opinion. And this is no shade to Oscar Valdez and Shakur Stevenson, but I said it on my show. I said, man, if I had to pay to watch a fight, I had to pick between the two, I would pay to see Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor because I automatically know what's going to happen with Shakur and Valdez. It's going to be a whitewash. It's going to be a one-sided beatdown. I wouldn't remember it was a beatdown, but it's going to be a one-sided affair. But that fight was so great, bro, for boxing, women's boxing. We need a rematch with this fight. I don't have an issue with Katie Taylor winning a split decision. The only problem I have, B, is the 97-93. You can't tell me Amanda only won 3 rounds, bro. Like, come on, man. Like, dude, don't do that. I mean, you feel, I mean, that's all I'm saying, bro. Like, don't do that. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, let me see what the all three were. I knew one had it for 90, 96, 94 for Serrano. One had it 97, 93 for Taylor. And what was I think the other score? Let me just double check. Was the other score wide too?
I think the other score was 96-94, Taylor, if I'm not mistaken.
The other one was 96 to 93.
Oh, 96-93.
So that was kind of a weird scorecard too, because I think the reason why that happened was I think was that the judge that scored it the 10-8 round or whatever. So I think two of these judges, if I'm not mistaken, only gave Serrano 3. Two of these judges only gave Serrano 3 rounds.
That's crazy. That's crazy, bro. Bro, that's crazy. You see what I'm saying? That's crazy, bro.
Yeah, and the judge that had it 96-93, I believe, scored the 5th round 10-8 for Serrano. So that's why it was 96 to 93.
Yeah, man. I just, man, come on, man. Like, worst case scenario, I can see I scored at a draw. I scored at a draw. I got to go back downstairs and look at my paper. Yeah, I got to go back downstairs and look at my paper. And listen, I scored at a draw and I didn't score the 5th round at 10-8 round.
Yeah.
If I scored a 5th round at 10-8 round, guess what? I have Serrano winning by a point.
Yeah.
I have Serrano winning. If I didn't even score the 10-8 round. Go ahead. Sorry.
And it's crazy too, Coach, because a lot of people are giving that judge a lot of criticism for scoring that 10-8. But I don't know, man. Like I don't think it was impossible to score that 10-8, in my opinion.
Katie almost got knocked out in that round.
Yeah,
bro,
she was badly hurt.
I'm gonna post my reaction, bro. It looked like she was gonna get stopped. Like, I'm like, oh my God. I was just so shocked. Man, if she could have pulled that off last night. And it is what it is, man. I want to see that fight again, B. I don't want to talk too much, brother, but man, I want to see that fight again. That fight was a classic. I loved it. It gave us everything we wanted. It is what it is, man.
Now, would that change your opinion in a rematch? Who would you pick in a rematch based off of what you saw last night?
Based on what I saw last night, if Amanda Serrano cannot get a knockout, she's not gonna beat. Especially
if it's in Ireland.
Amanda Serrano can knock Katie Taylor down 3 times in a 10-round fight. She can knock her down twice in the 1st round. She can knock her down once in the 5th round. She can land several knockdowns in that fight, and she's still gonna lose. It doesn't matter. Yeah. It doesn't matter how well she performs. Anything outside of a knockout of Katie Taylor, she can win every round. She's not gonna win that fight, and I honestly feel that way.
Well, I got my brother Philly Irish Drew in the house. What did you say, Drew? You had it a draw too?
No, I didn't have it a draw. I thought Amanda Serrano got robbed.
Okay.
I clearly thought she got robbed.
Fair enough. Well, explain to me why you think that. I'm curious.
I only have Katie Taylor winning 3 rounds. Because there's the thing. They try to say they gave Katie Taylor all the string rounds. I thought they're like 7 and 9 with string rounds. I thought she won the 8th round. Like on my card, I had her win the 2nd, the 8th, and the 10th. Like if you look at it, for the first 4 or 5 rounds, I'm gonna say 4 rounds, she was like going around the wing, and when she landed a punch, it was like one punch at a time. When Serena was landing like 2, 3 punches at a time, and like
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's just like I wouldn't give it 10-8 to Serrano because I don't score a fight 10-8 unless you get knocked down.
Yeah, I got you.
Like
I got you.
that's and I just don't think Katie did enough at all. Like it was a good fight. Don't get me wrong, it was a good fight, but I think Amanda Serrano put the pressure on, was landing a lot more, was landing the bigger punches. Like this is why it's wrong for women boxing to have 10 2-minute rounds. They should have 3-minute rounds because that was a 3-minute round. Katie Taylor would have been stopped.
Yeah,
And that's
some
what
people are
that's
saying
what's
that. I'm not sure, but some people are saying that. Yeah. Yeah.
But now I really thought she got away with another decision, Katie Taylor, because I thought she drew with Natasha Jonas and everything. You're not gonna win a round for me if you're going around and just landing one punch at a time when the other person is more pressure and landing punches on you. You're just not gonna get rounds for me because she pressed the action, she landed the harder punches, she hurt Katie Taylor multiple times. I just don't see how you score a fight 97-93 for Taylor and 96-93 for Taylor.
Yeah.
Like,
They only both those judges only gave Serrano 3 rounds. That's crazy, I think. I do agree with Coach on that. It's a little bit bizarre in my opinion.
and the crazy thing is, I put this opinion on like Facebook or something, and like the group I'm in is mostly like a European group.
Yeah.
You get told if you think that man Serrano won the fight, you get caught bias.
Yeah. Hey,
So I'm like,
Philly, you're right, brother. I'm in a group as well on Facebook, and I get it. You know, Katie Taylor has a lot of fans. She's the popular pick, and she's just one of those fighters that you can't never say anything. You know, you can't criticize her. You can't. She's perfect. You know what I mean? And I picked Katie Taylor to win. And I picked her to win the fight, but I just can't honestly walk away and say, man, you know what? I'm confident. I know for a fact she won that fight. Yes, she did win. You know, Amanda Serrano only won 3 rounds, bro. Like I like Katie Taylor hated those body shots. Those body shots is breaking her off, man. Listen, the jabs to the body that Amanda Serrano was doing, and I saw it when she fought what's the chick name again? Abib.
Pursoon.
Pursoon. I say, man, let me tell you something. If Amanda, and I had Julius on the show from Ring IQ, and we talked about this. I say, bruh, there's one fight I thought Katie Taylor lost from Pursoon. I said, if Amanda Serrano can pull that off, and you know, somebody like Katie Taylor, man, outside of a knockout, you're not going to beat her because she's going to get the benefit of the doubt every time. She's not going to beat it. If you can't knock her out, you can forget it.
I had her losing Pursoon too, to be honest.
I had her losing. I had her losing the Pursoon fight myself. I had that one 6 rounds to 4 for Pursoon.
Yeah, but I just can't. This is a definition of a fight that she definitely lost and definitely took an ass whooping in. And like I'll tell you the truth, if you're gonna have a rematch, even though I love my Irish fighters and everything, shouldn't be in Ireland. It should be in neutral territory and everything. And we should at least have maybe a judge from the United States, maybe a judge from like a South American country, maybe a European judge, and let's do it like that. Because to tell you the truth, it's just, yeah.
Oh, he froze up a little bit, but someone asked a question in the chat. Oh, go ahead, Drew.
It's just a fight that, you know, I thought it was badly scored by the judges. One judge had it. I could go with it, but the other two were ridiculous.
Yeah. So someone asked in the chat, well, if because I had it 6-4 for Taylor, and they just asked me, well, how is one round different than when you had a bad scorecard? Well, let me explain why I think it is. Because in my opinion, the swing rounds were rounds. I think rounds 1, 2, and 3 were swing rounds. I think rounds 7 and 10 were swing rounds. And in my opinion, I thought Serrano clearly won rounds 4, 5, and 6. In my opinion, I think Taylor won rounds 8 and 9. Drew thinks 9 was a swing. I respectfully disagree. So if you have 1, 2, 3, 5 swing rounds in a fight, right? And you give them all to one fighter, that's a little bit, it's not impossible to do, but it's kind of a little bit, you could be questioned that possibly you were a little biased in doing so. So, the two of the swing rounds, which were 7, I gave that to Serrano, and I guess out of the 5 swing rounds, I did give Katie Taylor 4 of them. So maybe you could say that I was a little bit off. I don't know, but for me to give all 5 of them to Taylor, that would be a little bit too much in my opinion. So that's my argument. Basically, it's hard to give every single swing round to one fighter.
And see, another thing, Beeb, is this: for a judge to tell me that Amanda Serrano only won 3 rounds, you're saying that the fight just wasn't competitive. It was just a one-sided, Katie Taylor just pretty much had a one-sided fight. She dominated that fight. There was no point in time in that fight where Katie Taylor dominated. There was no point in time where pretty much there were certain rounds I can see that Amanda Serrano dominated, especially the 5th round. But there was nowhere in that fight where I can say, and then when I look at the CompuBox numbers, because a lot of people like to look at CompuBox when it supports their fighter. But when you look at the CompuBox number, she was outlanded by a decent amount of punches.
Yeah.
Like Amanda Serrano landed quite a few more punches. It wasn't like 1 or 2 punches off. It was like, I want to say maybe 20 something or 30 punches. She outlanded her. Like she was touching her at will. I was just shocked that I'm shocked. I'm not tripping on the decision. I'm not gonna go have a civil war about it. I picked Katie Taylor to win. I kind of walked away feeling I don't know if the judges got it right. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. But the 97-93, I mean, for you to say that at that point and just say that Amanda Serrano only won 3 rounds, I'm like, bruh, either you are severely in love with Katie Taylor and she just this, bro, I don't know, bro. Just for the life of me, I don't see that this because Amanda Serrano only winning 3 rounds. I just don't see it. And if you look at me as a hater for not, even though I picked Katie Taylor, for not worshiping Katie Taylor and saying that, oh man, it was a whitewash. Amanda Serrano, it wasn't like an Oscar Valdez and Shakur Stevenson. You're telling me that what Katie Taylor did was similar to what Shakur Stevenson did to Oscar Valdez, somewhat similar. No, that's not what happened. I see Katie Taylor's face bleeding. She looked lost. She looked tired. She was severely hurt all throughout the fight. This is what I saw. And I can't unsee what I saw. And I picked Katie Taylor to win. I scored the draw because I gave Katie Taylor the last 3 rounds. The 10th round could have been a swing round, but that's all I'm saying, bro. Like, it is what it is. I get it. Trust me, I get it. But go ahead, Abib. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to talk so much.
No, that's fine. You can talk as much as you want if you're making great points. Let's take a look at these punch stats because these are interesting. Now, Taylor outlanded Serrano 9-7 in rounds 1. Serrano outlanded Taylor in round 2 10-9. Right? Round 3, Taylor outlanded Serrano 19-15. So right then and there, those are close comparisons, right?
Right.
Round 4, Taylor outlanded Serrano 15-13. But here's the huge gap right here. Round 5, right? Serrano outlanded Taylor 44-14, right? But then in round 6, Serrano outlanded her 19 to 18. But let's take a look at this round 7, which I said was a swing round, right?
Mhm.
They each landed 6 punches each. So that's and round 8, another close round. Taylor outlanded Serrano 13 to 12. And then round 9, Taylor outlanded her Serrano 21 to 15. And round 10, Serrano outlanded her 32 to 23. So let's just count up the rounds here. So Taylor outlanded her in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So basically, in terms of, and one round was like actually even, and Serrano outlanded her in. So it was like 5 rounds to 4. Taylor outlanded her in rounds, but the rounds that Serrano outlanded her, she outlanded her. Some in the 5th round and in the 10th round, there was a pretty decent discrepancy in punches landed. But other than the 5th and the 10th, all these rounds were in the 9th. The 9th, Taylor kind of had a big advantage. She had like a 6 punch. That's pretty close still. But the 10th was like a 9 punch discrepancy, and then the 5th was like a 30 punch discrepancy. So that's why the punch stats are so wide there. But in terms of round by round, Taylor did outland her in five of those 10 rounds, and four of them Serrano outlanded her, and one was even. So if you break it down that way, it really does reflect that this was a very close fight. It really was.
And guess what? And that's why I scored it a draw.
Yeah.
I didn't even know the CompuBox numbers. I saw it once the fight was over, but I scored it a draw. I said, yeah, I can see this being a draw. I scored it a draw. You know what I mean? I just disagreed with the saying that Serrano won 3 rounds. And I get it. If you was riding for Taylor and you're all in with her, in your opinion, she probably won 8 rounds. And the judges got it right. And I get that. But I just disagree with that. I just totally disagree with it. I think I scored it a draw. I'm not going to have a civil war about it online. I'm not going to be yelling, debating. I'm not going through none of that. That's the way I scored it a draw. I picked Katie Taylor to win. She did win. But anything outside of knocking Katie Taylor out, no one is going to beat that woman. It's not a judge. There's not a judge on the planet Earth that's going to rule against her. I'm just being honest with you.
And I'm going to be 100% honest with this, Coach. If the rematch is in Ireland, it's going to take away something from the fight for me, because automatically I'm going to be concerned with the judging. I hate to say, because those fans are going to be screaming and yelling. And I would love to see it somewhere neutral, to be perfectly honest with you. I would like to see it somewhere neutral. Again, you could, I wouldn't mind them putting it right back in Madison Square Garden. Why not? I mean, it was a historic fight yesterday. Why it would be a second historic fight? So if it's me, because of how well the promotion went and how great the crowd was and how great of an event it was at MSG, why not put it right back in MSG? Why not?
Hey, B, I totally agree with that. But I want to ask you a question, because
Sure.
I see online a lot of people were saying, hey, man, when Taylor landed the cleaner punches, so did Serrano land any clean punches?
Yeah, I'm not going to. I mean, here's the thing. There was one round where Serrano just landed a shit ton of clean. I mean, to answer your question, yeah, Serrano did land a lot of clean punches. There's no question about it. And to answer your question, all you got to do is look at round 5. she landed 44 clean punches. I mean, that's a lot of punches. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I thought they was gonna but it was a good fight. It was a good fight again. I would love to see the rematch. I would love to see it in New York again. Why not have it in New York? It was a packed crowd. The electricity was in the air. This was an exciting fight, not only for women's boxing, but for boxing. And it went down exactly the way I thought it was going to happen. I say that the Katie Taylor Amanda Serrano fight was going to be way more exciting than the Oscar Valdez Shakur Stevenson fight. I knew what was going to happen with that. It was a walk in the park. You know what I mean? And the Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano, man, I love these ladies. I've become newfound fans of both of these women. I want to see them run it back in Madison Square Garden, the mecca of boxing, run it back there. And this is a fight that the fans deserve. And I think those women, if this fight did well financially, they should get paid more money in the second fight.
Coach, that's where I want them to run it back. You guys see that picture right there? You see that image right there?
I do.
You see what that is? You know what that is?
Is that Yankee Stadium? Or that's MSG. It's MSG.
That's Yankee Stadium, dog.
Yankee
That's right out my window.
Okay.
That's where they got her. That's where I want them to run it back. Right there.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
right
that.
Right there. Last time they held a fight here.
Oh shit, he broke.
So last time they did that here in the Bronx was Cotto Foreman, which we talked about yesterday, Joe.
Yeah, that was a good fight. Yeah.
Right? I mean, you could put about 55, 60,000 people in there. You got all the Irish people in Woodlawn. You got Irish people all over Queens, all over Manhattan. You got all of the Puerto Ricans all over New York City. That's the place to put it.
Yeah, and let me ask you this, because I hate to be the financial guy and try to like be the number cruncher here, but obviously if you're gonna put a fight in the United States, you can sell the tickets at a higher price than you would in Ireland, right? So it would make more sense from a financial standpoint to keep the fight in the United States. In my opinion, I would
100%. I mean, there's a reason why there's a lot of Irish immigration to Australia, to Canada, to England, to the United States. It's because the income in Ireland isn't what it is in these other countries. And the median income in Ireland, in Dublin, is not the kind of median income that's going to support a huge fight. Think about this. When's the last time you've seen a major fight in Dublin?
I can't remember, man. I can't remember.
Right? I mean, that's my point. I mean, even when you look at Ireland, the biggest fights that they've had have been in Northern Ireland, in Belfast, which technically is a different country. I don't want to get into politics of it. I think that it should be part of Ireland, but that's just my own political view. But it's part of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, right? And, Carl Frampton fought there. You guys will probably remember Tyson Fury fought on an undercard there at Belfast. But the Republic of Ireland, I mean, they haven't hosted really big fights. I mean, you think about their fighters, Andy Lee and others, they've all pretty much fought on the road. It just is what it is. There's a reason they put this fight in New York City, and it's because, it's the global financial capital. People here make US dollars, right? They can charge a big site fee, which they got at MSG from the Dolans and everybody else that runs that place. Mm-hmm. So, I think the place to run it back would be here in New York, because you got big Puerto Rican population, big Irish population. Mm-hmm. And I think the ideal place to do it is right here at Yankee Stadium, because
you guys
will know.
I was going to say the Barclays Center, because Amanda is from Brooklyn. I say, you know what? Let her do it in her home borough. It will still sell out over there. I mean,
it's a smaller venue though, Virtuoso.
Yeah, that's right.
And honestly,
there's less seats than Madison Square Garden.
Yes, there's less seats. There's way less seats, and not only that, I'm not trying to big myself up, but I'm a taller guy. I'm a bigger guy, and it's very uncomfortable to sit at the Barclays. The seats are smaller, and you're sitting at kind of this vertical angle where you're kind of looking down at a funny position. I've been to a bunch of fights there. I've been to Gervonta Davis fights. I've been to
you're
Porter,
right,
Keith Thurman, a whole lot. Yeah. MSG is way better.
Yeah, it's way more spacious. Like, you can see better. I've heard complaints about Barclays Center that they had the Islanders play there, and you had to look right down. They didn't have like ice rink like the side seats.
There's a lot
of Islanders fans were complaining. That's why they built that new arena. That they're moving to, right? The RBS Arena, I think it's called. And the problem with a football stadium fight in New York City you guys will probably notice New York City football teams are not even New York City football teams. They play in Jersey.
Yeah.
You know, there's no football stadium in New York City. So you're either gonna have to do it at Citi Field where the Mets play, which is a lot further out. All right, that's in Willits Point, Flushing area, out in deep Queens, or you do it right in the South Bronx, Yankee Stadium. You know, you got the Metro North, you got the D train, you got the 3 train nearby, you got the 4 and the 5. I mean, to me, this is the place to do it. And I'm not just saying this because I live across the street. I'm saying it because it's an iconic venue that historically has hosted boxing. And I think it would be a great site for it. And I even asked Eddie and Frank Smith at Matchroom about it when I interviewed them.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, Mike, you didn't want to sit in those seats in the Barclay because the Nets got swept this year.
Well, yeah, they did. Ask Joe about that. I know he's happy being from the Bean.
Of course, Beantown took over, man.
Hey,
Right?
hey, Maestro.
Yeah.
You and Abib. I want to ask you guys a question, bruh. I have never seen the media, the coverage that this fight received with Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor was phenomenal. I'm hearing, I have a cousin live in New York. She was telling me that they had press from all over the world at
Yep.
this event covering the weigh-in was electric.
I
Bruh,
was there. Yep.
this was so huge. You was there. So this was so huge for women's boxing. Like, bro, just tell me your experience. Just tell me your
Well,
experience.
I'll follow that up real quick, Malachi, then you can chime right back in. I was there Wednesday for a media event where they actually no, it was Tuesday. Basically, they lit up the Empire State Building and they did a photo op on the observation deck. Huge turnout, enormous turnout, right? Following day, they had the open workout, which they did at Madison Square Garden. Media were there. Thursday, they had the press conference. Again, very good turnout. A lot of media there. Friday, though, is where you really saw the impact of the event because it was the weigh-in at the Hulu Theater. And I don't know if you saw the interview I did with Chris Mannix, but he said something that I can attest to myself. There were more people for that weigh-in, okay, in the Hulu Theater than there have been for many fights that have taken place at the Hulu Theater. It was a big crowd. And like you said, Coach, I mean, Irish media was there, British media was there. Steve Bunce from the BBC, Barry Jones, former world champion, he was there. I interviewed him. And I asked Eddie on that day, how does this compare to Joshua against Ruiz? Because you remember Joshua came here to the Garden and made a big splash here. It didn't go too well for him. He got knocked out by Ruiz. But the weigh-in was huge. Okay? That weigh-in was actually bigger, but Eddie said the event was going to be just as great. And you know what? Yesterday, I can tell you this. I wasn't at any of the Tito fights at the Garden. But it was louder than any other fight I've been to at the Garden. Lomachenko fights, Golovkin fights, Terrence Crawford fights, even the AJ Ruiz fight. It was sold out, and the people were like screaming from the moment they started seeing the two women on the big screens.
Yeah.
So Eddie didn't lie; he told the truth.
Shout out to Loki07, the $5 super chat. He says, I like Yankee Stadium idea for the rematch. If not there, how about Chicago? It has a good Irish and Puerto Rican population. To me, and tell me if I'm wrong, Maestro,
Yep.
you would want to have both fan bases there because it only makes the fight bigger, right? Why would you just want one fan base? Again, Katie Taylor won, so she has the right to do whatever she wants, and Eddie Hearn is the promoter, and he has the right to have a say in that as well, I'm sure. But if you're looking at maximizing and making the fight as big as it can be, not only from a monetary standpoint, but from an attendance standpoint, you would want to have, a diverse crowd there. And I don't believe any stadium in Ireland is going to have the seating capacity that Yankee Stadium would have. And again, once again, when you talk about the economics of it, the tickets are going to be more money. It's just going to generate more revenue.
Even if you did the fight in Dublin, right, where the Irish football team plays or the Irish rugby team plays, you probably wouldn't do a gate close to even what they did at the Garden, just because of the price that you'd have to sell the tickets at. And the Garden is a 20,000 seat venue. I'm saying put it at Yankee Stadium, where again you could charge the same ticket prices at the Garden, but you'd be able to fill an upper bowl full of seats, right? And here's the thing with the Garden: 6,000 Irish people traveled over here to New York. You want to bring them back? Give them a different experience. Not to mention, anyone here can Google the neighborhood Woodlawn in the North Bronx, right? 15-minute subway ride down the 4 train from to the Yankee Stadium in the South Bronx. That area is all Irish. And I don't even just mean Irish American, right? I mean recent arrivals from Ireland that live over there. New York City has a huge Irish population. And obviously, like you said, Joe, you do want to have kind of a balanced crowd over there for the event, right? And New York City obviously has a big Puerto Rican population. Amanda Serrano grew up over here. But also there's direct flights from Puerto Rico, so it's easy for Puerto Ricans to fly in over here to attend the event. So Eddie Hearn said it. Chris Mannix said it. New York City is the best venue for this fight. So the question for me is, do you want to do the same thing again, or do you want to make it bigger? If I'm Eddie Hearn, I'm trying to make it bigger. So next, go to Yankee Stadium, if that makes sense.
Yeah. George H. makes a great point here, and I wasn't aware of this, and I don't know if you are or you were aware of this, Maestro. He said the sole reason Katie hasn't fought in Ireland is because of the murder at the weigh-in a few years back. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I'm aware of that story. It was actually involving the Kinahans, and it was part of a BBC, I believe it was Panorama was the show that did it, but it was a BBC documentary around mob violence in Ireland and ties that Irish kind of mobsters had with the sport of boxing. It was a shootout at a weigh-in, full scale shootout.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I remember that. I saw that.
Yeah,
clip.
I don't remember
Crazy.
that actually.
Yeah, it was
Maestro,
yeah, go ahead.
so what was the? I asked you this earlier, but I just tell the audience in the panel, what was the general consensus after that fight? What did the press row have winning? Who did the press row have winning? I should say, and what was the overall consensus of the fans in that arena?
Well, I was sitting around a mixture of people, so I was lucky enough to get into a luxury box at the Garden. And there were some rather wealthy Irish people around me doing a lot of drinking. They were happy with the result. Right in front of me, though, Don Feliciano, I believe Don. I mean, Feliciano subscribes to pretty much all of our channels. I see him in our chats. He was sitting in front of me. There was like a bunch of Puerto Ricans there too. They felt it was a draw. A lot of the media people I spoke with felt that Katie Taylor was quite lucky to get the decision that she got. It was either, I would say the majority of people believed that it was either at worst a draw for Serrano or a Serrano win. The thing is, when you go to the fights, you don't really always get to see what the commentators are saying, obviously. But on the big scoreboard, they did show Chris Mannix's scorecard. And at one point in the fight, he had Serrano up way ahead.
He had her up 5-1.
Yeah, there you go. So, I mean, even members of the Irish media that I was speaking to while we were waiting for the fighters to show up to the post-fight press conference thought that Amanda Serrano should have at least got a draw. And here's the thing. The two women obviously had some swelling, and you could tell they had been in a fight. But when you looked at Katie Taylor's face compared to Amanda Serrano's face, Katie Taylor was busted up. She was bleeding so bad at the post-fight press conference that they had to bring a towel in for her, and Eddie was like wiping her ear, wiping her face because it was bleeding while she was speaking. And what I also want to say, granted, I wasn't ringside. I wasn't watching it on TV. But you guys were going over punch stats earlier, and you were talking about Amanda Serrano landing and Katie Taylor landing. From what I could gather, the heavier shots were being thrown and landed by Serrano. First round, she came out jabbing, moving her head a lot, which was great. I think she decided at a point that she could take Katie Taylor's power and then really started abandoning the jab and was really just swinging power punches. So when I hear stats that review the power punches, especially in those middle and late rounds, I think it's important to mention that Amanda Serrano was throwing power punches at that point, and she was literally going for a stoppage.
Well, look at this interesting statistic going back to the punch stats. So Serrano landed 171 power punches to Taylor's 146. But out of Taylor's 146, they're saying 8 of those were body shots, but Serrano landed 27, they're saying. So yeah, that's a interesting statistic. But Serrano threw more, but Katie landed at a higher percentage. So Katie Taylor landed 46% of her power shots, where Serrano landed 36%. But at the end of the day, I mean, if you're landing more, you're landing more. It doesn't matter the percentage, in my opinion. So it is what it is.
I mean, that's all well and good, the punch stats, but like, I'm looking for punch quality, and I felt like Serrano's like was more impactful in Katie's offense.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I
Yeah,
agree 100%.
yeah,
Me too. As well.
I mean, the way that round 5 was such a game changer because like I felt like Serrano was behind 3-1, and then she really let her hands go and like really turned the fight around. I thought she won like the middle portion of the fight. Shout out to Katie though, like she has a fucking chin, man. Just taking all that abuse, and Serrano really like really tried to take over the fight, but like you gotta make a lasting impression in the last round. Even when Katie like tried to punch with her, she still got catches shots in her in her head, and she doesn't make the fight pretty. She makes it more exciting, than try to box from the outside, which she was doing really well. But once she throws caution to the wind, man, it's like hang on to the roof.
You know what the amazing thing was at the end of this fight? Listening to Tony Bellew, he thought that Katie Taylor should retire after this fight.
I mean, wouldn't you?
I agree.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
She's 35.
I'm not gonna lie to you, B. From what I was hearing from a lot of the experts, people who know a lot more about women's boxing than I do, and I'm not gonna lie, that's why I had to have Julius on.
Yeah, Julius is excellent.
I wasn't impressed with what I saw from Katie Taylor. I'm like, the way it was sold to me. Katie is she's this cyborg, and she's going to, yada yada yada. And so when I'm looking at this fight, I'm like, okay, I'm not seeing what Julius was telling me. I'm seeing someone that's getting hit at will. Damn, she's bleeding. Damn, she's, you know what I mean? Like,
Coach, that's a great point. Yeah.
Hold on, this girl is a smaller fighter. I think Amanda moved up 2 weight classes.
Yeah.
To fight her, but she's fighting her the exact same way that she's fighting her like I'm the bigger fighter. I'm not afraid of you. I'm not afraid of the moment. And she came forward the entire fight, and it's not like she was just slow. I love the way she cut the ring off and stuff like that. Again, I'm not screaming robbery about the fight. I don't want nobody thinking I'm screaming robbery. I'm not saying it was a robbery. I just disagree. It was a split decision. So clearly it was a close fight. But I disagree with the 97-93 Maestro. That there I just can't, bro. 96-94, 2 judges scorecards. If you want to give it a Katie Taylor, okay, fine. But the 96-93,
ridiculous.
And then 97-93.
Yeah.
I mean, bro, come on. Like,
two things, Coach. One, I agree with everything you just said. And 2, you highlighted something very important, which is the whole thing of her getting hit at will. And what I really honestly didn't like sitting there at the post-fight press conference was when she wasn't really giving Amanda Serrano any credit for that. It was essentially her presenting it as if, well, she kind of allowed Amanda Serrano to hit that way because she kind of decided to engage in that. No, Amanda Serrano forced you to fight that way. And Amanda Serrano was hitting you not because you allowed her to hit you, but because she was putting on pressure and throwing clean, accurate power punches. just give people credit. I mean,
Yeah.
people were kind of looking for her to say this was the toughest fight of her career and Amanda Serrano is the toughest opponent she'd ever faced. And she never conceded that.
Well, yeah. I mean, here's the thing. This kills me sometimes when even fans will say this. Well, this happened because of this. This happened because of that. No fighter wakes up in the morning and says, you know what? I'm gonna allow this person to hit me, so and so amount of times in a fight. Like no fighter goes into the fight with the intent that I'm gonna allow someone to hit me. Now you can argue that maybe a fighter could be more aggressive and they could have moved a little more or whatever. But I agree with you 110%. Amanda Serrano imposed her will on Katie Taylor, and she had no choice but to try to fight her offer. And Sugar Ray Leonard said this, and I've always kept this with me. He said, you can only move so much in a fight, but there's always going to be a point in the fight where you're going to have to stand your ground and you're going to have to fight. You're going to have to hold. You're going to have to hold your own in there. You're going to have to fight somebody off you. You can't move the whole fight. And that was just basically a testament to what he said. And Dale made a great point. He just said Amanda was eating burgers and cookies all week just to make weight. Good point. And that was something that I was going to say as well. She had to really pack on those calories to put on the weight. And it's amazing her being the smaller woman, being the bigger puncher in this fight. That's just amazing. I'm just trying to envision how it must feel as a featherweight fighting her. If she could hurt Katie Taylor that badly, imagine these poor featherweights taking these shots, for Christ's sake.
I don't know.
Yeah, and imagine Alicia Baumgartner if she moves up to 135 with those heavy hands.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
I look at it like this: if this fight goes to Ireland, I'm gonna be less interested in it.
I just said that. I said that too, Philly. Because I hate to be that guy, but it's gonna cast a shadow over the fight.
Yeah,
It really
it's like
is.
it's too monocultural, and it's like people are gonna assume that there's gonna be corruption with the judges.
Hey, you know what? Hey, I want to ask you something, B.
Yes.
Check this out. Now we have the result. Katie Taylor won. She's still undisputed. Because of the excitement of last night's fight that we received, do you think, like Maestro says, I don't know if we should be at Yankee Stadium. Yankee Stadium is huge. I don't know if it's going to be that big. But, bro, just the fact that this fight was so competitive. You have both fan bases. If you're Katie Taylor, she won. She looked as great as can be. And she allowed Amanda Serrano to just punch her just to prove that she can eat her punches and show she's a greater fighter. If you're with Amanda Serrano, some of their fans feel like she got robbed, whatever the case may be. I think they can market it that way.
Because
you market the fight that way.
Yeah.
It break you feel me? Like, bro, I'm looking at the rematch already.
Coach, you think I'm fanboying for Yankee Stadium, Coach Malachi?
Absolutely.
Maybe I am. Maybe I do just want to walk across the street and be able to walk across the street back home after the fight starts. There may be a little bit of that. I'm not gonna lie.
Yo, in case your battery dies, like you got to go back and get another one.
Yeah.
So I'll be honest with you guys. I don't think we're going to see the rematch next. I think we're going to see a rematch, but we're going to see Katie Taylor versus Jessica McCaskill rematch next.
Wow.
That's a problem for Katie Taylor right there. That's a big problem for Katie Taylor right there.
You think McCaskill would drop back down to 135?
No, I'm saying Katie Taylor would have to go up.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I don't.
And McCaskill's tough, man, and she don't forget she was fearless in moving up to take on Breakus, who for years was an undefeated fighter dominating women's boxing, Cecilia Breakus.
Yeah.
Jessica McCaskill, I mean, she's got power, she's strong, she's bigger. I would, if I'm managing Katie Taylor, Maestro management ain't putting her in with her.
Yeah. Shout out to Low Key 7 with the $5 super chat. Says Katie Taylor's corner looked happier than she did when the call came in. Kind of reminded me of when Butte got mauled and still won. Yeah, but
by the way,
that was with the Andrade fight.
Did any of you actually saw that fight between Katie Taylor and McCaskill? Like, how did it play out?
Uh it was competitive, but I thought I thought Katie won. You know what it was is Katie was outmaneuvering McCaskill a lot, and McCaskill was trying to do what Serrano did,
Hmm.
but she wasn't as accurate and successful landing the punches. You know,
That's the thing that really bothers me about McCaskill is like I think she fights ugly. Like she's like all her shots like loopy, like
yeah, she was
overhand like
swinging for the
punches.
fences in that fight. Yeah, there's no question about it. She fought a little bit over anxious against Katie, and
Hmm.
Katie was kind of just maneuvering around her, stepping around her.
Joe, you don't think she's improved since then?
Do I think she's improved since then?
Yeah.
I would have to say absolutely without a doubt.
So do I. I think she's a new fighter. Honestly,
Yeah.
I
Well,
think
she
I think the
settled
new weight
down.
class.
She
I
settled
think the new
down.
weight class rejuvenated her too.
Sure,
Hmm.
she's settled down a little bit. She was a little bit over anxious. You could argue that maybe she got caught up in the moment. I'm fighting Katie Taylor. It's a big fight for me.
You know what
Um,
the big difference is? She's a full-time fighter now. She's not. She doesn't have a other job now like she did last time.
yeah, she used to be a banker or something, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? Hey, Abib, I want to ask you a question. I got a sense that Amanda Serrano's star power, even though she lost last night, has in her stock has went up
Oh yeah.
I would
more
agree.
so. Even though Katie Taylor's undisputed, she won, but I have a sense that it was a relief that she won from a lot of her fans. Like, whoo, damn, that was a close one. And
Yeah.
but it seems like that even though Serrano lost, by the judges' scorecards, it's like there's a sense of newfound fame for her or newfound like she got a lot more. If you wasn't a fan of Amanda Serrano, you became a fan last night.
Yeah.
Like she shocked me the way she performed, the way she, because from what I've been, Katie Taylor's fought the tougher competition. Amanda ain't fought anybody. She's gonna get exposed against Katie Taylor. This is what I've been hearing, and I didn't see that last night. From what I was hearing from the guys who know more about women's boxing than I do, I'm just being honest with you.
Well,
So
the big surprise to me was how badly Taylor was hurt. I've never seen her that badly hurt before, ever. And Pursoon hit her with some solid shots. And I'm not saying she wasn't buzzed in that fight, but she looked like she was on the verge of getting stopped in that round
Right.
five. So that was a shock to me seeing and again, Katie's not a huge lightweight, but she is bigger than Amanda. Amanda's a very thin, lean girl, right? Lean woman, I should say. I don't want to call her a girl. Lean woman, and you know, it was just amazing seeing her step to Katie like that and push her back and really hurt her. And Katie was like, she stumbled into the ropes. I was just amazed how she was able to stay on her feet. Amazed.
Joe, let me ask you something. You think Eric's gonna have the same opinion about quote unquote chick fights after seeing what happened last night?
Eric was. I ain't even gonna read you the texts Eric was sending me before the fight, man. I'm gonna. I mean, I'm curious
Expose
to
him.
see. I'm curious. I'm curious to see what he says. I'm curious to see what he says tonight, man.
I can't wait.
I
Everybody got to
can't wait.
Tune in tonight, 6 p.m. Ringside
Yeah,
Reporter Live.
y'all make sure you blast Eric, man, for down in women's boxing, man, because his assessment was proven wrong. Was proven wrong last night, man.
Lots of people were proven wrong, man. I've heard people say on Twitter that it's like, oh, why is it like this media event like at 9 a.m. or something like that? There's no buzz. Like people are not going to show up. Oh, why are the tickets not selling? Oh, why is this? Why that? It just shut down every conventional argument against women boxing.
Yeah,
This
it
was such
really
a huge
did.
event.
It was gigantic. You know, and I'm gonna say this, man. I think that if this fight was a draw, it would make the rematch even bigger because now people would be like, damn, now I gotta see. Now we need a winner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It would have been better if it was a draw last night. I think it would have enhanced the rematch, in my opinion. So part of me does feel a little bit bad for Serrano though, because she fought such a great fight, and when I can't lie, at the end of the fight, I was kind of hoping that she would have been announced the winner, because I don't know, I just was, she won me over a little, she really won me over. I thought Katie would win, but seeing how she fought, she really made that fight exciting. And I'm not taking anything away from Katie Taylor, because Katie Taylor was looking to turn that into a tactical boxing match. And Serrano, I felt, and again, this is all opinion based. It could be everyone can have their own opinion. Because she forced the fight the way she did, I think she made the fight exciting.
It was a great. It was. So go ahead, Joe.
And credit to Katie Taylor, because she had to fight Serrano off, right? And I disagree when she said, "Oh, I stood." No, you didn't stand toe to toe. You ran out of ring. I mean, you ran out of ring, and you were forced to hold your ground in those situations. So, yeah, I think because Serrano exceeded my expectations so much, I was hoping she would get the decision, and maybe I shouldn't say that, but that's just how I felt.
Bro, it's a human reaction, Joe. And at the end of the day, it's also a great story. I mean, you're talking about someone that was making $10,000 a fight,
exactly,
right? Who then went on to fight on a couple Jake Paul undercards where he paid her more, right? Arguably above market value, so that she would become a star or have a big enough profile to make this a big event. I think we also got to give Jake Paul credit for this, because
absolutely,
had he not put her on his undercards, had he not promoted her in the way that he did, had he not given her the profile that he gave her in the previous two fights going into this would not have been an event. It just wouldn't have been.
Yeah,
Facts. Jake Paul, he's a Capricorn like me, Maestro. So he's one of the greatest things ever happened in the sport of boxing. And from this point forward, we will be team Jake Paul. From this point forward, Jake Paul did a phenomenal job. He increased Amanda's profile, and Amanda did not disappoint. Katie Taylor did not disappoint. We need to see the rematch. I think it's going to be bigger. I think it's going to be some heavy hitters come out to see this fight. There was a lot of Maestro. I saw a lot of women in the crowd.
Oh yeah.
My eyes deceive me?
No. And the funny thing too, Coach, it was a wide-ranging age in terms of the women too. You had everyone from, your single 20s ladies living their lives to the like grandmas. You know what I mean? That's on both sides. That's on the Irish side. That's on the Puerto Rican side. And then to be honest, there was also people that weren't Irish or Puerto Rican there that were just there to enjoy the fight too. Let's not forget that fact. It wasn't just Irish and Puerto Ricans there. There were just like boxing fans, sports fans there. And I think Jake Paul played a big part in bringing out a lot of these people too. I mean, again, he's really been pushing Amanda Serrano in this fight. And Eddie Hearn said as much in the post-fight press conference that it wouldn't have been possible with all he had been doing, like with his social media platforms.
Yeah.
Hey, Beeb, I have to go, but I have one question I want to ask everyone on the panel.
Sure, brother.
The excitement that we saw last night with Katie and Amanda. Do you think that the Clarissa Shields and Savannah Marshall fight is going to be as electric as this fight that we saw last night?
Not even close.
The fight is going to be as good, I think. The problem is that neither of those two women have the fan bases of Katie Taylor, and they don't have the social media backing of Jake Paul. So I don't think the event will be there, but the fight is going to be crazy. And I'll tell you why, Coach. This is a women's fight that has a potential for a knockout finish because of Savannah Marshall's power. And Clarissa Shields is an action fighter that does engage in trench warfare. So you put that in with a bigger person who beat her as an amateur, who's improved as a boxer under the tutelage of Peter Fury, who sits down on her punches and who knocks women out. I mean, she just knocked out a lady that went the full distance with Clarissa Shields. It's gonna be a war. The fight is gonna be great, but I don't think it's gonna be the event of this because no Katie Taylor fan base, no matchroom push, and no Jake Paul social media promotion.
I think the only way this could be a big fight that could get attention is I think there got to be more smack talk because um, if you look at Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano, they were both cordial. They were established fighters, but these two, yeah, Clarissa Shields is it can call herself the GOAT, but like it's still under consideration, being that she hasn't faced any stiff competition. So Savannah Marshall is gonna have to really get in her head about the amateurs, all that stuff, and all the back and forth, because I feel like that one is gonna be more volatile than this one.
Yeah.
What do you think, B?
I thought beforehand, I thought it would be a more exciting fight because of Savannah Marshall's punching power, because she's aggressive. You had a great contrast of styles. You had the boxer versus the puncher versus the stalker, right? So before this fight took place, I would have thought that Savannah Marshall Clarissa Shields was going to be the more exciting fight, but because of what I saw last night, now I'm starting to second guess that. And these women have a tough act. Clarissa Shields and Savannah Marshall have a tough act to follow after what I saw last night. I'm going to be cautiously optimistic and say I hope so, and possibly it may be the case, but I'm not as sure as I once was before this fight took place last night.
Hey man, hey B, thank you so much, brother.
Thank you for stopping in, Coach. It was a pleasure always having you here, brother.
Yeah, Maestro, man, salute to you, fam. Virtuoso.
Oh, salute, Coach.
Coach,
Irish.
peace, man.
Yeah, I'm going to bounce, man. I got to go to the gym.
All right, guys.
Bless up. Get those endorphins going. Get that workout going. I got to do the same thing over here.
Yeah,
hey, man, we got to get the rematch.
We need it.
Right now, all I want to hear is the rematch, man. I want to see these women run it back, and they need to be paid more money.
I agree, Coach.
Absolutely. All right, peace out.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to be going to the gym in a little bit too. But let me ask you this, Maestro.
Yo.
Was there any like animosity between the two fan bases and the crowds? Was there any fights there?
None at all. In fact, the DJ did a great job of playing music that had both groups of supporters like on their feet, cheering, dancing. Big up to the DJ. He held it down, because the other thing too, there were long breaks between some of the fights, because as you guys saw, a couple of these fights ended in first round KOs or early round KOs. Galalia Fire was super impressive. Emma Williams, under the tutelage of Kevin Cunningham, got a first round KO in a fight against Booker that I thought was going to be much more competitive. But my guy, Corey Erdman, actually told me something I didn't know, which is that Cordell Booker actually was suffering from a really bad Achilles injury and it isn't the same fighter that he was previous to it. So there were long gaps in action, and the DJ had a tough job because he had to keep that electric atmosphere going. And I think in a large part due to him, the two fan bases were like kind of like at a party. You know what I mean? No animosity at all.
That's good. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. If the fight's in Ireland, and I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist, but I would be concerned that there would be some issues in the crowd if the fight was in Ireland, if I'm being honest.
I would agree, but the thing is, I don't think a lot of Puerto Ricans are going to go to Dublin, with all due respect to Dublin and with all due respect to Puerto Ricans. I don't really see it out there for it like that.
But what if Serrano were to get a decision in there, and it could be that the fans would kind of, they could become hostile.
Do you really think that that's going to happen though, Joe? If she couldn't get it in her own country?
I don't.
Yeah, neither do I.
I'm just concerned if something doesn't go the way they want it to go, or if there's an issue or something. I don't know.
Oh, I'll be honest with you. I think once Kayla loses, I think she's retired.
I mean, she's getting up there in age, so we have to question how.
If I'm Katie Taylor, you know what I do? I do what Tyson Fury's talking about. Let's bring one of these chicks over from MMA and do a closeout fight and get paid, for minimal risk. That's what I would do if I was her.
I was very surprised though to hear Tony Bellew call for her retirement, man.
Joe, it looked like she had a perforated eardrum, man.
Yeah,
Sitting there right in front of her at the post-fight press conference, I was front row for the post-fight press conference. Her face was bloodied up. She had really bad swelling, cuts, and she was bleeding out of the left ear. Like Tony Bellew knows what that feels like, you
yeah,
know,
he
and
knows it.
and in that moment, as an ex-fighter, you're thinking to yourself, you just sold out Madison Square Garden. You just had a seven-figure payday. It's not going to get bigger than this for you, most likely. Why continue to take punishment and go through this if you don't have to? You don't have to do it financially. Your legacy is not affected if you retire on this note after a big win at the Garden, defending an undisputed championship. If you think about it in boxing terms, there's really no reason for her to go on. And if she's fine financially, there's no reason to go on there. So I totally understand why Tony Bellew said that.
Did both fighters make this the seven figures, or because I'm hearing some reports that Serrano only made, well, not only, but she made 750,000. Like, was there any information
It's
about that?
I mean, Jake Paul was saying that she got seven figures and that he was hoping that he would be able to get her an eight-figure payday. In fact, at first he said 10-figure payday, and then he needed to correct himself because obviously 10 figures is not ever going to be possible for anybody whose name ain't Jeff Bezos or whatever. But yeah, it sounded to me like they both got seven-figure paydays. Obviously, we talked about this, Joe, fighters, when it comes down to it, after paying trainers, managers, and the IRS. Here in New York, you also got to pay city and state taxes that are pretty high. Obviously, her payday will probably be a lot less than whatever it is that is advertised, but I think she did pretty well financially.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Oh, we got my man Suleiman here. He's from New York too, man. What's up, Suleiman? Did you go? Was you at the event?
No, I wasn't. But I was nearby. I was working. I was nearby. I was hearing about the fights, and I got to watch the fight afterward.
What did you think of the fight, brother?
Well, so I mean, the woman's coming up in weight class, in both fights, those are big. The Taylor's a big fighter. He's very big for that weight class, and it showed in the later round. I mean, the girl had a skill. Both of them had skill. But the lady was very petite. Serrano's a petite fighter. She came in one for 130. She had the skill. That's what kept her in the game, and she has longer reach. You know. But the Taylor's a bigger woman. She was very composed. Even when it got rough for her, she was well conditioned, and she had an awesome corner. That's what evident in the fight. She had an awesome corner that kept her giving her the right instructions. And even now, what Maestro was saying, she's getting right instructions even on preparing her for retirement for a future because at the end of the day, I mean, a lot of fighters stay in the game too long and they pick up L's that they don't need and they lose their money. You know what I'm saying? So they're keeping her focused, they're keeping her consistent, and if she wants to go on top, I think that's the right thing to do. You think I could talk about the Oscar Valdez fight?
Of course.
Okay, the Oscar Valdez fight. That right there. That fight should never have took place. I think Oscar Valdez should have moved down back to after he beat Boschel. Got the accolades at 130. Hey, I got the belt at 130. Don't listen to the talkers and go back down to 126. The guy is way too small, even for 126. He got his jaw broke by Scott Quigg, a B class fighter. He overachieved. I think the climax of his career is that Boschel fight. He trained for that fight. He caught this guy slacking and caught him. And in this fight, it was he still had a couple of chances, but the weight disparity was too much. The guy's a very big fighter. He's cutting weight. Everybody's on his shit now. Everybody's protecting him. Oh, it's a masterclass. It's not a masterclass. The guy was a huge 130-pounder against a guy that's practically a bantamweight. He's tiny, and the skills were both evident on both of them. But at the end of the day, that's a big fighter. He hits much harder. That's why his face was busting up like that. Was changing color because the weight class. Like if I know when I was boxing, I was weighing like 146, right, and training. And if you put me with a guy that's 175 and the guy's doing deadlifts and he hits me with a jab, I'm gonna go down. And if I have the balls and the willpower to stay in there and the skill, my face is gonna turn that color too. So that what happened was that kid was getting hit by a guy that's practically a welterweight and for 12 rounds, and I don't see no referee saying anything because when it happened before when Emmanuel Navarrete fought Francisco de Vaca. Francisco de Vaca couldn't take the punching power from Emmanuel Navarrete at 122, and they stopped the fight. The guy was game as hell, and he stopped the fight. So this fight should have been stopped. I don't know why they kept the guy fighting for 12 rounds. Okay, so what? He has heart, you know. I think this guy Canelo's trainer is training too many fighters right now, and he dropped the ball with Oscar Valdez because he could have stopped that fight in the 6 rounds. You could see the kid's face changing color. He's game as hell. And if the kid can't beat the guy because he's too big, don't make the fight, man. They're going for the money too much. That whole team is way too money hungry. They're going through the Canelo syndrome because Canelo himself is the one that pushed for that Floyd Mayweather fight. Canelo would have been undefeated right now. If Canelo was the one that wanted Floyd. Canelo was the one that was crying, I want Floyd, I want Floyd. After he beat Austin Trout, he wanted to fight Floyd so bad. And they put him with Floyd and he got that L. That L could have been completely avoided. Right? And that's what's happening. I think this guy's career, Oscar Valdez's career, is being micromanaged by Canelo. Canelo's the one pushing the buttons in that division, and I mean in that team because he did the same mistake that Canelo did when he fought Floyd. Floyd Mayweather, he was too green for Floyd, and people were telling me, "Hey, Canelo's too green for Floyd," but he kept pushing for it. And this guy did the same thing. They said this guy is way too small to be in the ring with this man, and everybody's high shit. Everybody's avoiding. Oh, because he cut the weight. That's baloney. He I don't know how I don't know how he cut the weight, but that fight shouldn't have took place. I mean, the big wigs gotta look at this and they gotta start making fights like that. Guys are gonna get really hurt. You know what I'm saying? Because that guy's weight was welterweight, and that's because of weight disparity. The weight is too great. You know what I'm saying? I don't. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's what I have to say. And that fight with Leon Smith against Jesse Vargas. Jesse Vargas was too green. He's another one too rusty. He shouldn't be in a fighter like that. That he just knocked out his last opponent, Leon Smith, and he thinks that he's gonna go in there with Leon Smith and tune him up. That was at the late rounds. He got worn out and he got spent. You know what I'm saying? He's fighting a guy that's active. Liam Smith is an active fighter. He fought Canelo. He's only one of his losses to Canelo, to Jamie Munguia, and then to this other guy from Maganov. I don't know if he's Russian or something, but this is a guy that you shouldn't go in the ring and take him for a tune-up, a crossbow fight. I don't know whoever made these fights is doing severe matchmaking, man. It's not doing proper matchmaking. I just hang out and listen to your show if
All
you
right,
don't mind.
brother. No problem. No problem. Ron, what's going on, brother? What'd you think of the Taylor fight last night?
Oh man, I enjoyed every minute of it. I turned on Dazzin. Once I woke up, I was hanging out on Maestro stream, getting warmed up, and then man, we went into that main event. It was fireworks, man. I was listening to Coach Malachi call the fight, and I was checking for everybody. But about that fight, I just felt like I feel like Taylor got out to a good start, and that's just. I'm pretty sure you see what I said in the comment. It just was the fact is that Katie got out to a good start, even though her nose was bleeding. She just controlled the fight early on, and then she lost those middle rounds, and then the latter part of the fight, she picked the pace back up and she showed what skills do. And I just feel like it was a great fight, and I want to see the rematch, man. I would love to see the rematch again. Boxing got done great last night, man. It was just a beautiful situation, no robbery, just a good out, old fashioned fight, ass kicking. It was beautiful. I enjoyed it. What's up, Suleiman?
So you didn't have a problem with the scoring or anything like that. You was cool with that.
Well, yeah, the one scorecard, yeah. I mean, I didn't feel like it. Like I felt like it was a 10-8 round. Like in that what was it, the fifth round? But I felt like that Taylor was up 3-1 before that happened, and I just felt like Serrano was winning those middle rounds, but then Taylor just won the convincing rounds at the end. Like she basically held her composure, got back in the fight,
and put her shots together better. And I just feel like she just all around showed what championships are made of. You know what I mean? And that's what I got out of it. And I was glad she won. I might have been biased because I was going for Taylor, but I just felt like she held her composure and she eked out the win. You know what I mean? I'm gonna keep it a buck, bro.
Got you. The
Amanda, did,
mighty. Go ahead, brother. Finish up.
Amanda didn't do enough to seal the deal. You know,
Got you.
at the end. You know.
The mighty Jesse Requan. Barikwa. What's going on,
What's
brother?
up, brother? What's going on, man? Yeah, man, that fight was electric last night. I had it. I'm with coach in the beginning. I had it a draw. I mean, I was in person though, so I didn't score it round per round. Um,
Were you there,
but
Jesse?
yeah, I was there. It was fun, man. Electric atmosphere. Um, you know, the Maestro. I agree with you that the DJ was doing an awesome job, but I don't agree that it wasn't mostly Puerto Rican and it was all Puerto Rican and Irish. Maybe a few boxing fans here and there, but it was Puerto Rican. And dominantly Ireland, I think, was in the building. Like they made their presence known there. But
Yeah, I agree with that. It
yeah,
definitely was probably like, I would say maybe about 15% of the people were not in either of those two camps, but definitely of the two bases, it was majority Irish over Puerto Rican.
Did you bring the Puerto
yeah.
Rican flag with you yesterday, Jesse? Did you have the Puerto Rican flag there?
Uh, I did. You know what's funny? I didn't rock it. I should have rocked it. I would have gotten
You should have rocked the flag. You should have rocked the flag, brother.
I would have gotten on the screen. You know why? I was wondering if I was going to wear my Puerto Rico gear or my boy Jackpot, Tyrone Jackpot James, next big thing from Elmont.
You should have wore like a Hector Camacho like outfit or something, man.
Well, I had a Puerto Rico hoodie and a Puerto Rico hat, so I was thinking of wearing
Yeah.
that or my Jackpot gear.
Yeah.
So I went to represent Tyrone, and I rocked the Jackpot.
Were the Puerto Rican fans mad when the decision was announced?
Yeah, they were screaming robbery. I don't think so. Yeah, to beat the traffic and everything, we headed out of there right after the decision was announced. So
Yeah.
we didn't stay, but like on the streets, they're like robbery, robbery, and everybody in the garage where we parked that was Puerto Rican was like, oh,
Everyone was
robbery.
yelling. Everyone was pissed off, huh?
Yeah, but I thought, see, the problem too with fans there in person too, they're not really scoring the fight, right? And neither really did I. I thought it was a draw. When the fight ended, I was like draw, and I actually put my money on the draw. I put $100 on FanDuel for the draw, so I was like, oh shit, I think I won.
You always bet the draw. Every fight that they have, you always go Beeb. The draw's at like at a
I
plus
like the
25,
odds.
at a plus 2,500, man. You think it's going to be a draw?
I like the odds. This one was a plus 1,400. So I was like, so I put a, and after the fight, I really thought it. I was like, yo, I think I got it. I was like, one's going to be
Damn,
96,
Jess.
94.
Damn, huh?
Serrano,
Wow.
96, 94. And then that 97, 93 judge that was bugged out though. But you brought up a few good points too. Are you? I don't think I ever saw a round like round 5 where I wanted to give it a 10-8. So I don't know. Do you give that round a 10-8 or do you have to judge it a 10-9 based off of just that the rules of boxing?
Well, one judge did give it a 10-8. You can give it a 10-8. I just didn't do it because I didn't want to, because I never did before, and I didn't want to just start doing something. I mean, I don't know, man. I was so tempted to do it, man. I was so tempted to do it.
Yeah, around 5 and 6, I was like somebody's going to drop. I was like either Taylor's going to come back and drop her, but I mean those were some female Gotti Ward moments right there.
Yeah.
The way they finished it too, man. Nobody wanted to give that last round. I don't know. I have to watch that fight on television. There was so many swing rounds that I don't know. I would say this. I'm not mad at the decision. I think it could have went. I went with a friend of mine, and he was Irish, and he was like, I don't. He was like, I think if Serrano would have been the winner, it would have been the right decision. I think if Taylor would have been the winner, it would have been the right decision. If it was a draw, it was just one of those kind of fights. I think for me. Um, but when you're saying 97, 93, that's not a proper scorecard. Um,
Yeah.
and shout out to Jesse Vargas too. I think he needs to hang it up though. But that's my boy. I was rooting for Jesse. Um,
Yeah, no doubt. I was rooting for Jesse too, Jesse Rican, and congratulations on being a supporter of boxing, man. At the fight and all.
thank you, brother. Yeah, I was in section 100. Where were you? I had good seats. Where you got floor seats?
Was he there?
No, I was just watching it. No, I was just watching it.
Oh, he's just watching it.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. I thought that was my show. What you call it? So, yeah, I don't know. I have to watch it on television again. I mean, everything that's pretty much said here is kind of like what I felt. I really thought it was gonna be a draw. I feel like it was a draw, but I didn't score it round for round, so I don't know. But I thought it was a draw. But then again, I'm not mad at the swing rounds going to Katie Taylor because doesn't a tie round go to the champion?
Nah, I don't. I mean, that's not an official rule. That's what some people say. I don't agree with that, bro. I mean, I just give a round.
I believe in that. I believe in that.
Yeah,
When you're
I mean,
inside recording.
I can't tell people how to score a fight, but I don't
You
think of that stuff when I'm scoring a fight. I just look at the round and I say to myself,
you
who do I
remember
think
back
won
in
this
the day
round?
though. You remember back in the day though. In order to you got to beat the champion. You got to actually beat the champion in the championship rounds to win the fight. And I just feel like
Yeah,
Serrano didn't do enough.
yeah. I mean, like I said, if someone wants to use that criteria, that's on them. I just don't do it. You know what I mean? I just think whoever wins, and that's that. I try not to inject these unwritten rules into the scoring criteria. To be honest,
No doubt. No doubt.
You think more fighters are
Yeah,
gonna
man,
stay in the same
it was
division?
it was a great card, electric card all the way through. Um, fun night, man. Jake Paul wearing the boxing net and the promoter hat, man. He's doing his thing. Him and Eddie Hearn put together a great card, man. Uh, there was a UK boxer who was an Olympic gold medalist. He was 1-0-0. Now he's 2-0-0.
Kaya Fi was there. Yeah, he was good.
Yeah, he seems like he's going to be something special, right?
Yeah, he's good, man. He's good.
Yeah.
Did you want to say
So
something, Suleiman? Go ahead.
But I'm just saying, like, are the fighters gonna go like old school, like they used to before, with Foto Gomez when he fought at 122, he stayed there for a minute and he defended his belt many times because he got reacclimated to the weight. Because what happened is that if they keep going up in weight, what's gonna happen with them is they're gonna pick up all these unnecessary losses, because Serrano didn't need that loss. Oscar Valdez didn't need that loss either. I mean, they,
Yeah, I mean, I guess boxing's a game of taking risks, Suleiman. So sometimes these fighters think that they can win, and they don't. I guess it's up to their management team to figure that stuff out. But
because
I
they
don't know,
really
man.
like that Oscar Valdez, man. Oscar Valdez really likes that. Oh man, he was almost crying at the end. Like when they were interviewing him, I think he
Yeah.
was pushed. He was pushed to that fight, man. He was pushed to that fight. You
Yo,
know,
can I talk about that fight? I didn't get to speak
Go
on
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Valdez and Stevenson. Um, Credit to Stevenson for taking that fight. Credit to both guys for challenging each other. But I felt like I understood why Valdez didn't want to fight Herring and why he has so much trouble with Conceição is that he has problems against fighters who are taller than him, who fight from range, and it was gonna happen. It was a foregone conclusion to me. That's why I had Shakur Stevenson by unanimous decision. To me, I just think from a styles perspective, I think it didn't benefit Valdez. But I think what Suleiman is saying is he's onto something. I feel like maybe he didn't need to. Maybe Valdez didn't need that fight, but like you have to look at it from what ESPN and what Top Rank is trying to build up with Stevenson. They're trying to make him into the next Floyd, and they're looking for his Gennaro Hernandez, and that winds up being Valdez. Now, can Valdez be champion again? Of course. Stevenson said it, but I don't think as long as Stevenson stays on 130, that's not going to happen. He would have to move up to lightweight, probably be facing Lomachenko, and he probably could get a belt or go back down, whichever whatever he does. But um, it doesn't change the fact that Valdez, just needs a dance partner that can set him up to fight the way he usually does, like against a Burchell, a guy who comes forward. Stevenson is a guy who boxes on the back foot, try to make you come to him, and setting up traps. And so um I understand, the frustration of how the fight turned out. I found myself almost falling asleep.
Yeah,
I
excuse
even
me.
joked that
He
I
made
even I,
adjustments in the fight. He made adjustment in the fight. You could tell like Valdez is if you look at Valdez in that fight, right? Valdez mind was
mhm,
work, man. Valdez was making adjustments, man. He was making adjustments for the fight.
mhm,
But the problem is that the guy is too big, man. And that's when
yeah,
you have to know your limitation. Like Valdez, what happened was all these guys get they the trainer that he has is very authoritative. And then he has Canelo there. So these guys are micromanaging his career, right? So this guy
mhm,
takes the fight thinking like that like he's a yes man. He got all these guys telling him what to do. And I think that's why Ryan Garcia left him because Ryan Garcia was waiting like he make him look like he's a cartoon character. So Ryan Garcia waited and said, I better leave now because if you lose, I'm not gonna get the same kind of respect from Canelo and from the other one. So that's why he left. And that's why a lot of fighters are leaving. Like Andy Ruiz is another one. That's why he left. So, so if this guy's gonna retain his fighters, he's gonna have to be more realistic with them because what he did to this kid was, to me, that was in Spanish they say abuso. That was abuse. He abused the shit out of that little kid because he took that kid. That kid's like he's a small featherweight as is. Okay, you put him in a fight of his life against Miguel Bashir. They take the kid back down to 126. The kid doesn't have to be in that division. And if you keep him there, he's gonna have problems because that's what Wilfredo Gomez had. Wilfredo Gomez had the same problem that Valdez had. He moved up in weight, and he has punching power, but he can't take the punching power. And then if your brain is working and the guys are bigger, like when he lost Wilfredo Gomez lost that I think at 130 to that guy Alfredo Lane. Alfredo Lane was
mhm,
a C class fighter, but Alfredo Lane was a big C class fighter. So I'm talking history. This kid right here could be something big, but he has to go back down to 126 ASAP and forget about 130. He's too small for 130. He's too small for 135. You know, he has the skill, but he just doesn't have the what's the word? He can't take the punching. He can't take it. Like these guys hit way too hard for him. You know what I'm saying?
mhm.
Yeah, I'll let you continue, man.
Yeah. I mean, put it like this, man. Even when you're in the same weight class as your opponent, you're always going to deal with like physical disadvantages. That's just the reality of the sport. Um, he did make adjustments, but it's like you gotta have sustainable pressure on a guy like that, and not let him like be comfortable. And that's what I felt like that fight turned out. It felt like it felt like a sparring match for Shakur. Um, yeah, close the gap, but like you got to do that as constantly as you can. You cannot let him sit back on his punches. You cannot like box from range and box with him. No, you have to mess it up. You have to make it a brawl and not turn it into a boxing match. And unfortunately for Valdez, he couldn't turn that into a brawl. That's just the physical disadvantages he have, against Shakur.
And another thing I'm starting to notice, I don't know if you're noticing Habib, and I don't know if you're noticing Virtuoso, the 126-pound division is creating incredibly high quality talent. Because in the last fight with Warrington, Warrington got a beat down, and Warrington wasn't taking no, he wasn't quitting. And this Martinez guy, this guy could be a champion again. This guy's a monster in that division. So the 126-pound division is flipping burning. Like look at this kid, he was in your show, Mark
Mark
Mayo's guy.
Maxayo, yeah, Mark
Yo, this
Maxayo.
kid beat Gary Russell, and
Yeah.
Gary Russell's world class. You know, so these guys so Cole Stevenson came from that division too. So these guys are they still got Manu Navarrete there. That division right there is like is overflowing with talent, and is going to the other divisions. But you know, when you're at that level, dealing with all these opponents and fighting these type of dudes at that level, you're gonna get hurt. You gotta know your limitations and know what you could do, because what these guys are doing is feeding these kids this stuff, and they become a yes man because they want to be in that clique, they want to be in the Canelo clique. But you gotta know your limitation. I think that's what Ryan Garcia got into depressed, and he ran away after he got recovered from the depression. He ran away because that's what they were doing to him. They were putting mad pressure on him. I mean, the kid is talented, but when he saw that, hey man, I got my limitations, that's when he went for Joe Goosen. You know, and if this guy, this trainer that Canelo has, he's gonna have to do something with his fighters that he's gonna have to retain him because he really lost two, and I think the Valdez not gonna be with him no more either.
You think Valdez is going to leave?
I think unless Valdez goes to 126 and the guy slows slows it down with him because he's pushing his kid way too hard. You can see the kid's fight. I mean, the punching power from that guy is. I don't know if you've seen that fight with Mickey Ward against. They put him with some big blown up fighter and he lost.
I
I mean,
remember
back
that.
in the,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
so that's the same thing with this kid. They put him in like Monguilla Saddam Ali. Remember Monguilla for Saddam Ali? Monguilla was
Yes.
huge. Okay, so that's the same thing. This kid was in with a guy. Okay, Monguilla made 150. Everybody's saying to me in another show I was on, oh, he made the weight. So what? But Monguilla made the weight 154. And Saddam Ali made 154. And Saddam Ali got his ass kicked from pillar to post in that fight. You know what I'm saying? And Saddam Ali is a world class fighter, but he just couldn't take the 154-pound Jamie Monguilla. He was huge, you know. So this is what it is. These guys another one that used to cut the weight. What's the name of that guy? That Jabber Heard? He's
Jared
another one.
Hurd. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
He used to walk into punches. Jabber Heard, every time Jabber hitting everything but the kitchen sink, and he's walking through punches. And this guy made 154. And look, he went to 160. He never been the same. Jabber Heard
Yeah.
he's a C class fighter now. He's nothing like they say. Oh, and the one that knocked out J Rock, and he fought this guy. What's his name? He got knocked out in a unification fight, and then Eric Lubin knocked him out too. What's his name? He's huge.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. Oh, the Jason Rosario guy knocked
Yeah,
him out. Yeah.
that guy is gigantic, right? He's gigantic, and then he fights wide. But now if you fight if he fights a real world class fighter that knows how to deal with his weight cut, he loses. You know. So this what like J Rock should move to welterweight too. J Rock is a small fighter, man, at 154. Something is
Yeah.
funny with those divisions. Are they using different weight gloves? Habib?
Were they using
Did we
different?
what
They use 8-ounce gloves, the smaller weight divisions, and then
no at 147 and 154, I heard they use different weight gloves. Am I right?
no 154 they use tens, and
Okay, and at 147 use
147
eight.
they use eights. Yeah.
So that's what it is. That's what these guys get. They move up in weight and they wind up getting up. They lose their punching power or something and they wind up getting knocked out. Something is up there.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
because I noticed like with a welterweight or a small 154 pounder has trouble with that.
Yeah.
How about 122, 126? Do you use
They
different
all
weight
use
classes?
eights. Yeah, they all use eights.
All right.
Back in the
Um,
day, like the Sugar Ray Robinson days, they used sometimes they used to use six. You ever watch those old clips of those old fights? How small the gloves were?
Yeah.
yeah,
Some of
but
those fights.
Robinson was killing guys at 147. You know that, right? He
Yeah,
killed
yeah, yeah,
he killed
yeah.
two or three guys. He
I
killed
know he
I think
killed Benny. He killed Benny Kid Paret. I think I know that
no
was one
Benny
of them.
Kipare got killed
No,
by
that was
Oh no, no,
McGriff.
I'm sorry. That was who killed him? That was
Emil Griffith.
Griffith. Griffith, right?
Yeah.
That's right. My
yeah,
fault.
So yo, Joe, thanks a lot for having me on, man.
All right, man.
I just
Yeah.
want to express my opinion, man. You have a great day. Thank you very much, brother. And you,
Yeah.
Virtuoso, nice to meet you, my brother. And you
Nice
have
to
a
meet you
great day.
too, Suleiman.
All right.
Yeah. I got to get going too, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna break out, but thank you guys, man. Have a great day, man. I'll talk to y'all soon. Make sure you guys tune in tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern time, the Ringside Reporter podcast.
I'll set my reminder.
All right, brother. Be good.
Peace.